The small alien ship moved slowly through the empty space around the broken planet. Captain Vexthara stood at the front window, looking out at the floating rocks and metal pieces that filled the area. Her blue skin glowed softly in the ship's lights. She had been searching this place for 3 days now. "Captain, I'm picking up something big on the scanner," called out Krillinox from his seat. His forearms moved quickly over the control panel. "It's about 20 kilometers away, hidden behind that large rock." Vexthara turned around. "What kind of big? Ship big or space junk big?" "Ship big, really big, maybe 2 kilometers long." The captain's eyes went wide. In 30 years of salvage work, she had never found anything that large. Most ships were small trading vessels or tiny fighters. Something 2 kilometers long would be worth more money than she could count. "Take us closer, but go slow," she ordered. "Zariman, get ready with the deep scanners." The young alien at the science station nodded. Her green skin was darker than the captain's, and she had excited spots of yellow on her face. This was only her second salvage mission, but she loved finding old technology. Their ship, the Coral Dancer, was small but well built. It had strong engines and good sensors for finding valuable things in space. The crew of 6 aliens had been working together for 5 years. They knew how to find the best salvage and how to stay safe while doing it. As they got closer to the large rock, they could see something huge floating in its shadow. It was a ship, but unlike any ship they had ever seen. It was long and thick, with weapon ports all along its sides. The hull was dark gray and covered with small dents from space rocks. "By the void," whispered Krillinox. "That's a human battleship." Everyone on the bridge went quiet. They had all heard stories about human ships, but none of them had ever seen one. Humans were legendary in this part of space. They were known for building ships that could fight against impossible odds and never give up. "Are you sure it's human?" asked Vexthara. Zariman checked her instruments. "The design matches the old database files. Look at those weapon mounts and the armor plating. Only humans built ships like this." The captain moved closer to the window. The ship looked dead. No lights, no energy readings, no movement. It had been floating here for a very long time. Space dust covered parts of it, and small rocks had hit it many times over the years. "How long has it been here?" she asked. "Hard to say," replied Zariman. "But based on the damage and dust buildup, I'd guess at least 300 years. Maybe more. 300 years ago, there had been a huge war in this system. The humans had fought against the Dominion Empire in a battle that lasted for weeks. Both sides had lost many ships. Most people thought all the human ships had been destroyed or had run away. "This has to be from the Battle of Kepler 442, said Krillinox. "The humans made their last stand here. Everyone said they all died." "Apparently not all of them," said Vexthara. She looked at the massive ship with new respect. "If this ship survived that battle, it must be incredibly tough." "Captain, I'm not reading any life signs," reported Zariman. "No power, no heat, no movement. It's completely dead." The captain thought about this. A human battleship in good condition would be worth enough money to buy a small planet. Even if it was damaged, the technology inside would be valuable. Human weapons, computers, and engines were always in high demand. "What's the ship's name?" she asked. Zariman zoomed in with the scanner. "I can see letters on the hull. It says U.E.S. Liberty." "The Liberty," repeated Vexthara. "I've heard that name before. Wasn't it one of the ships that held off the Dominion fleet while the human colonies escaped?" "That's what the stories say," said Krillinox. "But those are just stories. Most people think the Liberty was destroyed." "Well, it's not destroyed," said the captain. "It's right there, and it's ours if we can claim it." She turned to her crew. "Listen up, everyone. This is the find of a lifetime. But we need to be careful. Human ships are known for having traps and security systems. We go in slow, we check everything twice, and we don't take any chances. The crew nodded. They had all heard stories about salvage teams that got careless around human technology. Some had been blown up by hidden bombs. Others had been caught in force fields or poison gas. "Bring us in close to what looks like a docking bay," ordered Vexthara. "We'll attach our ship and cut our way in. Remember, this ship has been dead for 300 years, but that doesn't mean it's safe." As the Coral Dancer moved toward the massive human battleship, none of the aliens noticed the small sensors that began to glow deep inside the Liberty's hull. Systems that had been sleeping for centuries started to wake up, one by one. The hunt for treasure was about to become much more dangerous than anyone expected. The Coral Dancer attached to the side of the Liberty with a soft clank. Vexthara felt her ship shake slightly as the docking clamps locked into place. Through the thick windows, she could see the massive hull of the human battleship stretching out in both directions. "Docking complete," announced Krillinox. "The seals are holding good. No air leaks." "Good," said the captain. "Zariman, what are you reading from inside the ship?" The young scientist looked at her instruments. Still nothing. No power, no heat, no movement. "The hull is about 2 meters thick, which is blocking most of our deep scans. But from what I can see, it looks empty." Vexthara nodded. "All right, team. We're going in. Bring the plasma cutters and the portable air supply. This ship has been dead for 3 centuries, so there won't be any breathable air inside." The salvage team put on their spacesuits and grabbed their equipment. The plan was simple. Cut through the hull, explore the ship, and find the most valuable technology. Human computers and weapons always sold for high prices in the outer systems. Krillinox carried the plasma cutter, a tool that could cut through almost any metal. It used superhot plasma to melt steel and even the toughest armor. The team had used it hundreds of times before on other salvage jobs. They moved to the airlock between their ship and the Liberty. The area where they had docked looked like a maintenance bay, with tool racks and workstations. Everything was covered in dust and looked very old. "Begin cutting," ordered Vexthara. Krillinox turned on the plasma cutter. A bright blue flame shot out, hot enough to melt rock. He began cutting a large circle in the hull, working slowly and carefully. The metal glowed red-hot as it melted away. Deep inside the Liberty, something began to happen. The plasma cutter's energy was feeding into the ship's hull, and sensors that had been sleeping for 300 years started to wake up. The ship's main computer, buried deep in the protected core, received its first signal in centuries. Warning. Lights began to flash in the ship's central computer room. The Liberty's AI system, called Aria, slowly came online. It had been waiting for 300 years for either human contact or a threat to the ship. The unauthorized cutting was seen as a threat. Aria began running through its emergency protocols. First, it checked the ship's condition. The main engines were offline, but the emergency power systems were still working. The ship's weapons were not ready, but they could be brought online if needed. Most importantly, the crew was still alive in the cryogenic chambers. The AI sent a signal to the medical bay. After 3 centuries of sleep, it was time to wake up. The crew dot in the medical bay. Captain Jake Morrison lay in a cryogenic tube, frozen in time. He was 45 years old when he went to sleep, and his body had not aged a day since then. The computer began the waking process, slowly warming his body and giving him drugs to help him wake up. Morrison's eyes opened slowly. The first thing he saw was the ceiling of the medical bay, with its familiar lights and monitors. For a moment, he thought he was back on Earth, Before the war started. Then he remembered. The battle. The Liberty damaged and drifting. The decision to put the crew in cryogenic sleep and wait for rescue. But rescue had never come. "Status report," he said, his voice rough from centuries of sleep. "Captain Morrison," came the voice of Arya through the speakers. "Emergency protocol. Activated. The ship is being boarded by unknown aliens. Recommend immediate defensive action." Morrison sat up quickly, ignoring the pain in his muscles. "How many boarders?" "6 aliens, currently cutting through the hull in Maintenance Bay 3. They appear to be salvagers, not military forces." The captain looked around the medical bay. Other tubes were beginning to open as the ship's senior officers woke up. Commander Lisa Hayes, his second-in-command, was already sitting up and looking around with confused eyes. "Lisa, report," said Morrison. "Sir, I single quotes M. How long were we asleep?" she asked. "Arya, time elapsed since we entered cryogenic sleep?" 312 years, 7 months, 4 days, replied the AI. Hayes went pale. "Over 300 years? What happened to the war? What happened to Earth?" "Unknown," said Arya. "No human signals detected in this system. The boarders appear to be Zephyrian salvagers, based on their ship design." More officers were waking up. Chief Engineer Ryan Cooper climbed out of his tube and immediately started checking his instruments. Tactical Officer Alex Turner woke up and asked for a weapon. "Easy, everyone," said Morrison. "We don't know the situation yet. These might not be enemies." "Sir," said Hayes, "if they're salvagers, they think we're dead. They're probably here to strip the ship for parts." Morrison thought about this. After 300 years, it made sense that people would think the Liberty was destroyed. But now they were awake, and they had to deal with the boarders. "Arya, can you stop them from cutting through the hull?" "Yes, sir. Emergency force fields are available. However, their plasma cutter is feeding energy into our systems. If I activate defenses now, it might cause an explosion. Then let them finish cutting. We'll meet them inside the ship." "How many crew members can you wake up?" 50 crew members are ready for immediate revival. The rest will need more time." "Do it, but keep it quiet. I don't want to scare these aliens until we know what they want." Back in the maintenance bay, Krillinox finished cutting through the hull. The large circle of metal fell inward with a loud crash. The aliens looked through the hole into the dark interior of the ship. "I'm reading atmosphere," said Zariman. "Old and stale, but breathable for us." "Any life signs?" asked Vexthara. "Nothing. Still completely dead." The captain looked at the dark opening. Something felt wrong, but she couldn't say what. The ship looked dead, but there was something about it that made her nervous. "Let's go in," she said. "But stay alert. Human ships are known for surprises." The aliens climbed through the hole into the Liberty. They turned on their lights and looked around. The maintenance bay was huge, much larger than anything on their ship. Tool racks lined the walls, and heavy machinery sat in the corners. "This place is incredible," whispered Zariman. "Look at the size of these tools. Humans must be much stronger than us." "Focus on the mission," said Vixthara. "We're here to find valuable technology, not to sightsee." But as they moved deeper into the ship, none of them noticed the security cameras that followed their movement. Deep in the ship's core, 50 human crew members were waking up and preparing for the first contact with aliens in over 300 years. Captain Morrison stood in the Liberty's command center, watching the alien salvagers on the security screens. The 6 aliens moved through the ship's corridors with their lights, looking at everything with wonder and excitement. They had no idea they were being watched. "Sir, all 50 crew members are awake and ready," reported Commander Hayes. "They're confused about the time jump, but they're getting up to speed quickly." Morrison nodded. His crew was good. They had been through many battles together, and they knew how to adapt to new situations. But this was different. 300 years had passed, and they were dealing with aliens who thought they were dead. "What do we know about these Zephyrians?" he asked. "According to our database, they're a peaceful trading species," said Arya. "They were not involved in the war with the Dominion. They prefer to avoid conflict and focus on business." "That's good," said Hayes. "But they're still aliens on our ship, without permission." Morrison watched the screens as the aliens explored the ship. They seemed more interested in the technology than in causing damage. One of them, a young female with green skin, was taking pictures of everything with a small device. "Sir," came a voice from the tactical station. "I have weapons ready if you need them." Morrison looked at Tactical Officer Turner. The young man was eager to fight, but Morrison had learned to be more careful over the years. "Hold fire," he ordered. "These don't look like enemies. They look like people who are trying to make a living." On the screen, the aliens had reached the ship's main corridor. It was a huge space, 20 meters wide and stretching for hundreds of meters in both directions. The walls were lined with doors leading to different parts of the ship. "This is amazing," said the young alien with green skin. "The humans built this ship like a small city." "Stay focused, Zariman," said their captain. "We're looking for the computer core and the weapon systems. Those are worth the most money." Morrison felt a flash of anger. They wanted to strip his ship for parts. But then he thought about it more. If he had been asleep for 300 years, people would naturally think his ship was abandoned. The aliens weren't doing anything wrong by their own standards. "Sir, what's the plan?" asked Hayes. "We make contact," said Morrison. "But we do it carefully. We don't know what the galaxy is like after 300 years. These aliens might be friendly, or they might panic when they see us. How do we approach them?" Morrison thought about this. The aliens were in the main corridor, which was far from any critical ship systems. It would be safe to meet them there, but he needed to do it in a way that wouldn't scare them. "Arya, can you turn on the corridor lights gradually? I want to get their attention, but not frighten them." "Yes, sir." Beginning slow illumination. On the screen, the aliens were examining a wall panel when the lights began to come on. First, just a few emergency lights. Then more lights, slowly brightening until the entire corridor was lit up. The aliens stopped moving. They looked around, with wide eyes, clearly scared. "The ship is coming online," said their captain. "Everyone stay calm." "But that's impossible," said the four-armed alien. "The ship has been dead for 3 centuries. There's no power source that could last that long." "Human technology," said their captain. "We heard stories, but I never believed them." Morrison smiled, despite the situation. Even after 300 years, humans still had a reputation for building things that lasted. "Sir," said Hayes, "they're trying to back toward their ship." "Not yet," said Morrison. "Arya, can you speak to them in their language?" "I have basic Zephyrian language files. I can communicate simple concepts." "Good. Tell them we want to talk. Tell them we're not enemies." The AI's voice came through the corridor speakers, speaking in the alien language. The aliens stopped moving and looked around, trying to figure out where the voice was coming from. The captain of the aliens, the one with blue skin, spoke back in her own language. Her voice was high and musical, but Morrison could hear the fear in it. "She says they don't want to fight," translated Arya. "They thought the ship was empty. They're sorry for boarding without permission." "Tell them we understand," said Morrison. "Tell them we want to meet them, but we need to be careful. We don't want anyone to get hurt." The AI translated this. The aliens talked among themselves in quick, nervous voices. Finally, their captain spoke to the air. She agrees to meet, said Arya. But she wants to know who we are and how we're still alive. Morrison took a deep breath. This was the moment. After 300 years, humans were about to make contact with aliens again. He hoped it would go better than the last time. Tell them I'm Captain Morrison of the Liberty. Tell them we've been asleep for 300 years, and we just woke up. Tell them we want to learn about what happened while we were gone. The AI translated this. The aliens looked shocked. They talked among themselves again, and Morrison could see them pointing at the cameras. She wants to know if we're really human, said Arya. She says humans are supposed to be legends, not real people. Tell her we're real, said Morrison. And tell her we're coming to meet them. Just me and Commander Hayes. No weapons. Hayes looked at him with concern. Sir, is that wise? We don't know if we can trust them. We have to start somewhere, said Morrison. Besides, if they wanted to hurt us, they would have brought weapons. They came here to salvage, not to fight. The AI translated Morrison's message. The alien captain agreed to the meeting, but she sounded very nervous. Morrison and Hayes left the command center and walked through the ship's corridors. It felt strange to be walking through the Liberty again after so long. Everything looked exactly the same as when they had gone to sleep, but somehow it felt different. Sir, said Hayes as they walked, what if the war is still going on? What if the Dominion won? Then we'll deal with it, said Morrison. But first, let's find out what these aliens know. They reached the main corridor where the aliens were waiting. The 6 aliens stood close together, clearly nervous. Their captain, the one with blue skin, stepped forward when she saw the 2 humans. Morrison stopped about 10 meters away. He raised his hands to show he had no weapons. The alien captain did the same thing. Arya, tell them we're happy to meet them, said Morrison. The AI translated. The alien captain spoke back. She says she's Captain Vexthara of the Choral Dancer. She says she's honored to meet real humans, but she's also scared. She doesn't know what to expect. Morrison smiled. Tell her we're scared too. We don't know what's happened to the galaxy while we were asleep. Maybe we can help each other. As the AI translated this, Morrison could see the aliens relax a little. This was going to be interesting. After 300 years, humans were back in the galaxy, and they had a lot to learn about what had changed while they were gone. The meeting between humans and aliens started slowly. Both sides were nervous, but curious. Captain Morrison and Commander Hayes sat on metal boxes in the corridor, while the 6 aliens sat across from them. Arya translated everything through the ship's speakers. Tell us about the war, said Morrison. What happened after the Battle of Kepler 442? Captain Vexthara looked uncomfortable. The war ended about 200 years ago. The human colonies won, but many people died. Both sides lost so many ships and people that they finally agreed to stop fighting. Hayes leaned forward. What about Earth? What about the human government? The human colonies are still there, said Vexthara. But they're different now. They trade with many alien species. There are humans living on dozens of worlds. Morrison felt relief wash over him. Humanity had survived. They had won the war and built a new life among the stars. But he also felt sad. 300 years had passed, and everyone he had known before the war was long dead. What about the Liberty? Asked Hayes. Do people remember us? The young alien Zariman spoke up excitedly. You're legends. Everyone knows the story of the Liberty. They say you held off the entire Dominion fleet while the colony ships escaped. They say you fought impossible odds and never gave up. But everyone thought you were destroyed, added Vexthara. The battle records show the Liberty taking heavy damage and disappearing. Most people thought you exploded or were captured. Morrison looked at Hayes. We weren't destroyed. We were just sleeping. For 300 years, said Krillinox, the four-armed engineer. How is that possible? No power source lasts that long. Human engineering, said Hayes with a small smile. We built this ship to last. The fusion reactors can run for 1,000 years if needed. The aliens looked impressed. Zariman took out her recording device and started asking questions about the ship's technology. She wanted to know about the engines, the weapons, the life support systems. This is incredible, she said. The humans built technology that we still don't understand today. Your ship is more advanced than most modern vessels. Morrison was proud of his ship, but he was also worried. What's the galaxy like now? Are there still wars? Are people safe? Mostly safe, said Vexthara. There are still some conflicts, but nothing like the old war. Different species trade with each other and work together. There are laws about how to treat other species. And humans? Asked Hayes. Humans are respected, said Vexthara. Maybe even feared a little. The stories about human determination and technology have spread everywhere. Some species think humans are too dangerous to fight. Others want to learn from human engineering. We're not dangerous, said Morrison. We just want to protect our people and live in peace. That's what the stories say, said Zariman. They say humans only fight when they have to, but when they do fight, they never give up. The conversation continued for hours. The aliens told the humans about the current state of the galaxy. They learned about new technologies, new species, new trade routes. The humans told the aliens about the old war and what life had been like 300 years ago. So why were you salvaging our ship? Asked Hayes. Vexthara looked embarrassed. We're salvagers. We find old technology and sell it. Human technology is very valuable. We thought your ship was empty and abandoned. We're not angry, said Morrison. You didn't know we were alive, but now it happens. That's up to you, said Vexthara. You're the captain of this ship. We're just visitors now. Morrison thought about this. His ship was operational, but it needed repairs and supplies. His crew had been asleep for 3 centuries, and they knew nothing about the current galaxy. They needed help. What if we worked together? He said, You know the current galaxy. We have technology and knowledge from the old days. Maybe we can help each other. The aliens looked interested. Krillinox spoke up. What kind of work? We need to learn about the modern galaxy, said Morrison. We need supplies, repairs, and information. You're salvagers, so you know how to find things and make deals. And what would you offer in return? Asked Vexthara. Morrison looked at Hayes, who nodded. We can offer protection. The Liberty is still a powerful warship. We can also share our technology, as long as it's not used for war. This could work, said Vexthara, but there's one problem. If word gets out that the Liberty is back, everyone will want to find you. Some will want to hire you. Others might want to destroy you. Why would they want to destroy us? Asked Hayes. Because you're a symbol, said Zariman. You represent human military power. Some species might see you as a threat. Morrison understood. The Liberty was famous, and fame could be dangerous, but they couldn't hide forever. They needed to return to the galaxy and find their place in it. We'll take that risk, he said. We can't stay hidden forever. Our people need to know we're alive. There's something else, said Vexthara. The human colonies have changed a lot in 300 years. They might not recognize your authority. You're from the old military, before the new government was formed. This was something Morrison hadn't thought about. He was a captain in the old Earth fleet, but that government was long gone. The new human colonies might see him as a relic from the past. Then we'll have to prove ourselves, he said. We'll show them that we're still loyal to humanity, even if the government has changed. The aliens and humans continued talking late into the ship's night cycle. They made plans for the future. The aliens would help the humans learn about the modern galaxy. The humans would provide protection and share their technology. But first, they had to wake up the rest of the crew. 800 people had been asleep for 3 centuries. They would need time to understand what had happened and adjust to the new reality. "This is going to be difficult," said Hayes. "Some of the crew might not accept that so much time has passed." "We'll deal with it," said Morrison. "We've survived 300 years. We can survive a little more change." As the meeting ended, both sides felt hopeful. The humans were no longer alone in the galaxy. They had found allies who could help them navigate the new world. The aliens had found something more valuable than salvage. They had found living legends who might help them achieve things they had never dreamed of. The Liberty was no longer a ghost ship. It was alive again, and it was ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy might offer. 3 weeks had passed since the first meeting between the humans and aliens. The Liberty was now a hive of activity. The remaining crew members had been awakened gradually, and they were slowly adjusting to the reality of their situation. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the repair work through the main view screen. A choral dancer was attached to the Liberty's hull, and alien workers were helping human engineers fix damage that had accumulated over 3 centuries. "Status report?" he called out. "Main engines are back online," reported Chief Engineer Cooper. "The Zephyrians have some amazing repair compounds that sealed the microfractures in our hull. We're at 85% operational capacity. Weapon systems are fully operational," added Turner from the tactical station. "Though I hope we won't need them." Morrison nodded. The weapons were important, but he hoped they would never have to use them. The galaxy seemed more peaceful now than it had been during the war. Commander Hayes approached him with a data pad. "The crew adjustment meetings are going well. Most people are accepting the situation. A few are having trouble with the time jump, but the counselors are helping them." "What about the ones who want to go home?" asked Morrison. "About 50 crew members want to try to find their families or their old colonies," said Hayes. "I told them we'd help them once we reach a human settlement." Morrison understood. Some people needed to connect with their past, even if everyone they had known was long dead. The human colonies might have records or descendants of the crew's families. And the rest? "They want to stay with the ship," said Hayes. "They consider the Liberty their home." Morrison felt proud of his crew. They had been through an incredible experience, but they were adapting and moving forward. That was what humans did best. Captain Vexthara entered the bridge, followed by Zaramine and Krillinox. The 3 aliens had become frequent visitors to the human sections of the ship. They were fascinated by human technology and culture. "Captain Morrison," said Vexthara through the translation device they now used, "we've received a message from the trade station at Kepler 438. They want to know if the reports about the Liberty are true." "What reports?" asked Morrison. "Word has spread through the salvage networks," said Zaramin excitedly. "Everyone knows that the Liberty has been found and that the crew is alive. Some people don't believe it, but others are very interested." Morrison had expected this. They couldn't keep their return secret forever. "What kind of interest?" "Good and bad," said Vexthara. "Some trading companies want to hire you for protection. Some scientists want to study your technology. But there are also some groups that see you as a threat." "What kind of threat?" asked Hayes. "You represent the old military," said Krillinox. "Some people think you might try to restart the war or take over the human colonies." Morrison shook his head. "We're not conquerors. We're just trying to find our place in the galaxy." "We know that," said Vexthara. "But not everyone will believe it until they see it." "Then we'll have to show them," said Morrison. What's our best option for making contact with the current human government? Zariman consulted her datapad. The nearest human colony is at New Terra, about 2 weeks away at standard speed. They have a small government center there. And the trade station? Asked Hayes. 3 days away, said Vexthara. It's neutral territory, run by a council of different species. It might be a good place to make a careful first contact. Morrison thought about this. The trade station would be safer than going directly to a human colony. They could test the waters and see how people reacted to their return. We'll go to the trade station first, he decided. But we go carefully. We don't know what kind of reception we'll get. Captain, said Turner from the tactical station, I'm picking up signals from several ships heading this way. They're still far out, but they're definitely coming to investigate. Morrison felt a familiar tension. How many ships? At least 5, maybe more. Different designs, probably from different species. Are they military? Asked Hayes. Hard to say, said Turner. But they're all armed. Vexthara looked worried. This is what I was afraid of. Once word gets out, everyone wants to see the legendary Liberty for themselves. What do you recommend? Asked Morrison. We leave, said Vexthara. Now, before they arrive. We can reach the trade station before they catch up to us. Morrison made his decision quickly. All hands prepare for departure. We're leaving this system immediately. The bridge became busy with activity. The crew ran through the departure checklist, while the aliens helped disconnect their ship from the Liberty's hull. Within an hour, both ships were ready to leave. This is it, said Morrison. After 300 years, the Liberty is going back into space. The massive engines came online with a deep rumble that could be felt throughout the ship. The Liberty began to move for the first time in centuries, slowly at first, then faster as the engines reached full power. Engines at full, reported Cooper. All systems green. Take us out of the system, ordered Morrison. Set course for the trade station. As the Liberty accelerated toward the edge of the system, Morrison felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. They were leaving the place where they had slept for 300 years. They were going back into a galaxy that had changed beyond recognition, but they weren't going alone. The Choral Dancer stayed close to the Liberty, its crew ready to help. The humans navigate the new world they were entering. Captain, said Zariman, I'm detecting several more ships on long-range sensors. Word is spreading fast. Let them come, said Morrison. We're not hiding anymore. The Liberty and the Choral Dancer jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving the empty battlefield behind. Other ships arrived hours later, but they found only empty space and the debris of an ancient war. The news spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The Liberty was back. The legendary human battleship that had held off impossible odds was alive and operational. The crew that had been sleeping for 3 centuries was awake and ready to face the new galaxy. 3 days later, the Liberty approached the trade station at Kepler 438. The station was huge, built from connected modules that housed thousands of beings from dozens of different species. Ships of all sizes docked at the outer rings, bringing goods from across the galaxy. We're being hailed by station control, reported the communications officer. Put them through, said Morrison. A voice came through the speakers, speaking in the common trade language. Arya translated it immediately. This is station control to the approaching vessels. Please identify yourselves and state your business. Morrison took a breath. This was the moment. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the U.E.S. Liberty. We request permission to dock for supplies and repairs. There was a long silence, and the voice came back, sounding shocked. Did you say the Liberty? The human battleship from the old war? That's correct, said Morrison. We're real, and we're peaceful. Another pause. Then a different voice came on, speaking with more authority. Captain Morrison, this is Administrator Chun of the trade station. We've heard the rumors, but we didn't believe them. Are you really the crew that disappeared 300 years ago? We are, said Morrison. We've been in cryogenic sleep. We just woke up a few weeks ago. This is incredible, said Administrator Chun. Permission granted to dock at Bay 7, but be warned, half the galaxy is looking for you. We'll do our best to maintain order, but things might get complicated. We understand, said Morrison. We're ready to deal with whatever comes. The Liberty moved slowly toward the docking bay. Through the view screen, Morrison could see other ships changing course to get a better look at them. News crews, traders, curiosity seekers, and probably a few people with less friendly intentions. Captain, said Vexthara, are you sure about this? Once you dock at that station, there's no going back to hiding. Morrison smiled. We never planned to hide forever. It's time for humanity to know we're back. As the Liberty settled into the docking bay, crowds of aliens gathered to watch. Some pointed and took pictures. Others just stared in amazement. The legendary ghost ship was real, and it was here. What happens now? Asked Hayes. Now we start building a new future, said Morrison. We learn about this new galaxy, we find our place in it, and we show everyone that humans are still the same people who never give up. The docking clamps engaged with a solid thunk. After 3 centuries of drifting in space, the Liberty was connected to civilization again. The crew looked out at the trade station with wonder and nervousness. Welcome to the new galaxy, said Vexthara. I think you're going to find it very interesting. Morrison nodded. The Liberty had awakened from its long sleep, and now it was time to discover what role it would play in the galaxy's future. The humans were back, and they were ready for whatever adventures awaited them among the stars dot as the airlock opened and the first humans in 3 centuries stepped onto an alien space station. Word continued to spread across the galaxy. The Liberty had returned, bringing with it the promise of new alliances, new discoveries, and new hope for the future. The ghost ship was a ghost no more.